He could not walk. People laughed at him, mocked him, called him cursed. Yet that same helpless child would grow up to defeat one of Africa's most feared tyrants, build the greatest empire West Africa had ever known, and become the hero of an epic that many believe shares remarkable parallels with Disney's The Lion King. This is the unforgettable story of Sundiata Keita, the Lion of Mali. Long before European ships reached West Africa, long before the world had the name Mansour Musa, there was another legend. A king whose courage would lay the foundation for one of the richest and most powerful empires in history. Sundiata Keita was born around the beginning of the 13th century into the royal Keita family of the Mandinka people. The Mandinka lived in a land of rivers, forests, fertile fields, and bustling trade routes. Gold flowed through the region. Salt crossed the Sahara. Merchants, scholars, hunters, and griots, the sacred keepers of history, filled the kingdom with life. His father was King Magon Konfata, a respected ruler, a wise leader. But according to the ancient oral tradition known as the Epic of Sundiata, his greatest decision came because of a prophecy. Wise hunters told the king he must marry a woman named Sogolon. She was not famous for beauty. She was not from a powerful family. But they said something extraordinary. Her son would become the greatest king the Mandinka people had ever known. The king believed. He married Sogolon. Soon a son was born. His name was Sundiata. No one knew that history had just changed forever. Then came heartbreak. As months passed, Sundiata still could not stand. His legs remained weak. Other children learned to run. He remained on the ground. 1 year passed. Then another. The royal court began whispering. The prophecy was wrong. How can this child ever become king? Children mocked him. Adults pitied him. Some laughed openly whenever they saw him crawling, while others walked proudly past. Imagine being born into royalty yet unable to do something every ordinary child could. Watching your friends chase one another across open fields while you could only sit and watch. Feeling powerless. Feeling different. Feeling forgotten. The future king could not even stand. The prophecy looked impossible. But one person never gave up. His mother, Sogolon. She ignored every insult. Ignored every cruel joke. Ignored every voice telling her that her son would never amount to anything. She saw something others could not. Strength. Patience. Destiny. Every day she encouraged him. Every day she reminded him that greatness does not always appear early. She protected him. Comforted him. Loved him when the world laughed. History remembers kings. But behind many great kings stands someone who believed before anyone else did. For Sundiata, that person was Sogolon. Without her unwavering faith, there may never have been a Mali empire. Then the impossible happened. According to the Epic of Sundiata, one day Sogolon was humiliated again by members of the royal court. She returned home in tears. Sundiata saw his mother's pain. Something awakened inside him. Enough. He asked for an iron staff. Strong men brought it to him. The court gathered. Many expected another failure. Sundiata gripped the iron with both hands. His arms trembled. His legs shook beneath him. Every muscle strained. The staff bent under the enormous pressure. For a moment it looked impossible. Then slowly, painfully he rose. The boy who had never stood was standing. Silence swept across the court. The laughter disappeared. Sundiata took one step. Then another. Then another. With each step the impossible became reality. The child who had crawled for years walked proudly before everyone who had mocked him. That moment has echoed across West Africa for centuries. It is not remembered simply because a child walked. It is remembered because hope stood up with him. But happiness did not last. Just as Sundiata was growing stronger, darkness returned. His father King Magon Konfate died. The kingdom mourned. The drums fell silent. And with his death everything changed. Inside the royal court ambition began to grow. Whispers became plots. Friends became enemies. Her name was Sasouma Barit, another wife of the late king whose own son Dankaran Tuman wanted the throne. She feared Sundiata. Not because he was powerful yet, but because she knew one day he would be. She began turning the court against him and his mother. Supporters disappeared. Friends became silent. Respect vanished. The young prince who had finally learned to walk was once again being pushed down. Not by weakness, by politics. Then came the decision. Stay and risk death, or live and live. Sogolon made the choice. She gathered her children and left their homeland. No royal procession. No soldiers. No celebration. Only a grieving mother and a prince with no kingdom. Imagine looking back one last time knowing you may never see your home again. The rivers where you played. The trees you climbed. The people you loved. Everything disappeared behind them. The future founder of an empire walked away with nothing. Exile became their new life. They traveled from kingdom to kingdom. Sometimes welcomed. Sometimes rejected. Each new land taught Sundiata something. How to survive. How to lead. How to listen. How to judge character. He watched kings rule wisely. He watched others destroy themselves through greed. Every journey became a lesson. Every hardship became training. He was becoming a leader. As the years passed, the boy everyone had mocked disappeared forever. His body became stronger. His shoulders broadened. His arms hardened. He trained with spear, sword, bow, and shield. He hunted through forests, crossed great rivers, learned patience from hunters and wisdom from elders. But what truly made Sundiata different was not his muscles. It was his heart. He remembered every insult. Yet he refused to become cruel. He remembered every hardship. Yet he never forgot compassion. His suffering had not destroyed him. It had prepared him. While Sundiata wandered, his homeland suffered. A new power was rising. His name was Sumanguru Kanté, king of the Soso, a brilliant commander, a ruthless conqueror. Stories surrounded him. Some claimed he possessed supernatural powers. Others believed no weapon could defeat him. Kingdom after kingdom fell before him. Villages surrendered. Warriors fled. The once proud Mandinka lands were crushed beneath his armies. The people lived beneath a tyrant. Every day they remembered the prince who had disappeared into exile. Was he still alive? Had destiny abandoned them? But destiny was only waiting for the right moment. Then messengers found him. Their clothes covered in dust. Their faces filled with desperation. They delivered a simple message. Your people need you. Your homeland is suffering. Only you can save Mali. Silence filled the air. Sundiata looked toward the distant horizon. Toward the land where he had been mocked. Rejected. Driven away. He could have refused. He could have stayed safe. Instead he smiled. Not because war was coming, but because his people had not forgotten him. The lion was coming home. The news spread like wildfire. Sundiata was coming home. Village after village answered his call. Warriors left their farms. Hunters picked up spears. Blacksmiths worked day and night forging swords and shields and hope. Kings who had once stood alone now stood together. The Mandinka were no longer divided. One people. One purpose. One leader. For years they had lived beneath fear. Now they marched toward freedom. Every mile brought more warriors. Every sunrise strengthened the army. Every drumbeat echoed across the savannah. The lion had returned. Then came the battle that would change African history forever. The Battle of Kirina. Around the year 1235. On one side Sumanguru Kanté, the feared king of Soso, a man surrounded by legends. Many believed he could never be defeated. On the other side Sundiata Keita, the boy who once could not walk, now standing before thousands ready to reclaim his homeland. The battlefield stretched across the plains. Dust rose beneath thousands of feet. War drums thundered. Spears glittered beneath the African sun. Then the charge. The earth shook. Warriors collided with unbelievable force. Spears struck shields. Arrows darkened the sky. Steel clashed against steel. The future of West Africa hung in the balance. According to the epic of Sundiata, the battle seemed impossible. Again and again Sumanguru's warriors attacked. Again and again the Mandinka held. Ancient oral tradition tells that a sacred arrow tipped with the spur of a white rooster broke Sumanguru's legendary protection. Whether legend or symbolism, this story has been passed down for centuries. When the decisive moment came, Sumanguru fled the battlefield. His army collapsed. The impossible had happened. The tyrant who had terrified kingdoms was defeated. After years of fear, the people were finally free. The prince who had returned from exile had fulfilled the prophecy. But Sundiata wanted more than victory. He wanted peace. He wanted unity. He wanted a future. After Kirina, he gathered the leaders of the Mandinka and their allies. Old enemies shook hands. Ancient rivalries ended. Instead of ruling through fear, Sundiata ruled through cooperation. The Mali Empire was born. It stretched across vast lands of West Africa. Gold mines, fertile farmland, trade routes, thriving cities. Merchants crossed the Sahara carrying gold, salt, ivory, and knowledge. Prosperity spread. The foundations he built would later allow another legendary ruler, Manso Musa, to inherit one of the richest empires the world had ever known. Without Sundiata, there would have been no Mali Empire as history remembers it. Centuries passed. Then a new story captured the world. Disney's The Lion King. Millions fell in love with Simba, the young prince. The death of his father, his exile, his return, his battle against the usurper, his reclaiming of the kingdom. For many historians, writers, and storytellers, those themes feel strikingly familiar. They closely resemble the ancient epic of Sundiata. An exiled royal child. A journey of growth. The return home. A final battle. A rightful king reclaiming his destiny. Disney has never confirmed that The Lion King was directly based on Sundiata's story. But the similarities have sparked debate for decades. Whether direct inspiration, shared storytelling traditions, or remarkable coincidence, the comparison continues to fascinate people around the world. And for many Africans, the epic of Sundiata remains one of the greatest heroic stories ever told. Ask people about Alexander the Great. Many know him. Julius Caesar, Napoleon, King Arthur. But ask about Sundiata Keita and many fall silent. Not because his achievements were smaller, but because African history has too often been overlooked. For centuries, much of Africa's history survived through oral tradition, passed from one generation to another by griots, master storytellers, keepers of memory. While European histories were written in books, African stories were carried in voices. That made them easier to ignore, harder to preserve in the eyes of outsiders. Yet they endured. Because stories spoken from the heart can live longer than words written on paper. More than 800 years have passed. But the name Sundiata still lives. Across Mali. Across West Africa. Across the world. Children still hear his story. Griots still sing his praises. His life reminds us that greatness is not decided at birth. It is earned. He proved that weakness can become strength. Exile can become destiny. Pain can become purpose. The child who could not walk united nations. The boy who was mocked built an empire. The prince who lost everything created a kingdom that would change history forever. And his roar still echoes through history. They laughed because he could not stand. They never imagined he would one day lift an entire nation. He fell before he could walk. He lost his home before he became king. He faced exile before he found his destiny. Yet he never stopped moving forward. Sundiata Keita, the Lion of Mali, founder of an empire. A king remembered not only for the battles he won but for the hope he gave his people. Some heroes inherit greatness. Sundiata earned it. Step by painful step. Do you think Sundiata Keita deserves to be recognized as one of the greatest kings in world history? Drop your answer in the comments below. And subscribe to Unveiled History, because the truth is always more powerful than the myth.